is October 19th, 2021. My name is Lori Kurtz. My pronouns are she, hers. Would you please introduce yourself? Tell us your pronouns if you care to, and tell us all the things you do.
Hi there. My name is Baby Lestrange. I'm a burlesque performer slash drag performer slash performance artist here in Portland, Oregon, as well as a producer. I started, my first performance was 2008. February 2008.
Great. What is burlesque?
To me, burlesque is the kind of burlesque I do is like a parody on things that are, happening in the world, or just like over glamorization of myself. To me, it's all about entertainment, entertaining the audience. I really enjoy, being an entertainer. There's lots of different styles of what you could call burlesque. I wouldn't say that there's one genre. I wouldn't put it in any sort of a box saying that burlesque isn't this, or burlesque isn't this, or burlesque is anything you really want it to be, how I see it.
Yeah. And why do you do burlesque? What does it give you artistically that other forms don't?
We can go back, we'll talk about my origin story, but at this point, after I'm going on 14 years, to me, I just love entertaining. It's also a source of income in my life at this point. I enjoy just putting myself out there, and no matter what the size of the stage, of course, I want a bigger audience than a smaller audience, but to me, I don't see myself stopping anytime soon, or it's hard to say. I do it because I enjoy entertaining people. I enjoy, putting on a show.
And some people, general public, some people think burlesque is part of the sex work world. Where on the spectrum of sex work do you think it lies?
I don't, that's definitely, I don't feel like it is sex work personally. I think stripping is more of a sex work. Like, those people are like giving people more of an, dancers, dominatrix, things like that are giving more people of like an emotional experience as well, talking, to people, creating a service. And that's great. I love that, but I don't consider burlesque sex work.
So
I don't even know what the right answer is. It's like, that's just my view of it. Like, I'm more of an on-stage entertaining people, where those people are definitely having more like intimate experiences.
So origin story, where were you born and where did you grow up?
So I personally am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I think I moved here 2005, 2006, something like that. And then I started doing roller derby is how I ended up in burlesque. So I was doing roller derby around 2006, 2007. And I had a friend in roller derby. Her name was Tiffany Hell. And they worked with somebody. They worked at OMSI, and their coworker's daughter was a burlesque performer in Los Angeles. And she was moving back here to start burlesque. I knew nothing. I saw a burlesque show in New York City in like the early 2000s, one of the first like neo burlesque shows. It's called the Va Va Boom Room, at this place called the Time Cafe, which was no longer even there, with like a lot of the original neo burlesquers. So I saw this show there. My friend was working on it, had no idea that I would even be doing this in the future, or even meeting these people and working with these people that I saw on stage that day. So back to 2007, it was like winter 2007, I took these classes from this woman who I didn't know her backstory, knowing that she had burned a lot of bridges in burlesque in like Seattle, where she started, Los Angeles. And then she moved here. Nobody knew who she was. So, hey, let's start something, right? And try to make money and maybe take advantage of these people is how I, in the end is like really what happened. So, I took these classes and I had the confidence to like make an act. And I think my first performance was February 2008. And then like BurlyCon came about and I didn't know. And then like all these like I went to the first BurlyCon, all these original neo-burlesquers were there who knew this woman and knew all the bad things that she'd done to everybody. So that is how like Rose City Shimmy was formed, just kind of like getting away from this person to do our own thing. Because, so-and-so wasn't giving us what we needed, like being paid or, proper communication or fair wages, things like that.
Yeah. And what originally brought you to Oregon?
Oh, a person that I was dating, but I think I honestly could say I fell more in love with Portland and the fact that I have the opportunity to live on the West Coast. So I came out here. Yeah. And that didn't last much longer after I, was here for a bit. Definitely not even into like me starting burlesque. That was over before I started burlesque.
And you went to the first BurlyCon. What was that like? What is BurlyCon? What was that like? Where was it?
So BurlyCon in Seattle. I think the first one was 2008 or 2009. And it's an educational convention, no performances, all education for burlesque and performance. So the first one is interesting because the class picture is so small. There's not very many of us in that photo, and it was great to like be there with like these like neo-burlesque legends and people from around the country that I still am friends with to this day because I met them there, and I like knew who was coming and wanted to, connect with these people. But there were maybe 50 people there. Yeah. And now, it's grown to a crazy amount if it does end up in person again. So many people. Yeah. But the class picture was like so small. I know there's photos of it somewhere.
Yeah. And just backing up a little more, what did you do in your formative years, whatever those were, that led you to performance?
Nothing. I was a photographer. I was always in art. I went to school for journalism and photography and film. And I ended up doing a lot of photography in Pittsburgh. But like never, like I would go to a drag show here and there, but I wasn't like that into, going to see live art. I was more into like the visual art of like movies and photography. And I think it just was something that I never thought of that just happened. Honestly, I was never like, oh, I want to be a burlesque performer. It just fell in my lap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just like continued doing it all these years.
Were there burlesque schools or burlesque academies in Portland in 2008?
No.
When did those come along?
It was maybe a few years after. This person that taught me, quote unquote, they basically talked about themselves the whole time. I didn't know any better because I'd never taken a burlesque class before. So I really, kind of had to figure things out for myself. But they taught another class and then they taught some more. I think that's how the origin of Rose City School of Burlesque happened. But it might have been called something different. I don't remember, honestly.
And then how did you pick your stage name?
So there's a band from the 70s, T-Rex, and there was a song called Baby Strange, and it's the song that I first performed to. So I just decided to call myself Baby Lestrange.
And then beyond that, those beginnings, how did you develop your burlesque career beyond that?
Just really, I mean, I sucked at the beginning, to be honest, for years. I was like not very good, but nobody knew any better, because we didn't really have burlesque here, really. I mean, at the time. So it's funny, I just went back and like watched a video of mine from those days and I was like, oh. So, just networking, putting myself out there, applying to festivals. I mean, like, there's been a lot of rejection over the years, but all the positive things that have came out of it, like it weighs more than the negative.
Yeah. Yeah. So how did Rose City Shimmy begin? Was that a fixed troupe? Was that a show?
So myself and one of the other performers had taken classes from this person. She was in the class after me, Charlotte Truce. And then then we met. High Fleisch moved here. Another person named Itty Bitty Bang Bang was interested in burlesque, just learned on their own, I think, from going to a show. Megan Mayhem moved here from Hawaii, and we all just met each other and decided to start our own thing because we weren't happy with what was going on. So it's more of a collective than a troupe. And then we started putting on our own shows pretty early on. We didn't do too many. Everyone kind of went their own separate ways with things after a couple years. And I think there's only one of them is still really, Charlotte Truce is really very, she performs sometimes and she lives in New Orleans.
And then I saw that you were in the cast of Tease O Rama, the tour in 2008. Can you describe what Tease O Rama is? And then how did you get selected?
So I think Tease O Rama was one of the first burlesque conventions outside of maybe Burlesque Hall of Fame. I'm not 100% sure. So I just knew that it was coming here. They did a road show. I believe it started in New Orleans and then went to San Francisco. And then over the year, then they did this road show tour. So there weren't many of us here. And I had this roller skating act at the time. I don't know what I was thinking. It was crazy being a new performer on roller skates, but hey. And then I applied, and it's funny because at the time you had to actually send in a paper application and send in a DVD, a CD-ROM or whatever of your performance. So myself and Charlotte Truce got selected to do the one in Portland.
Yeah.
And then I think we did a Seattle pre-show. I'm looking back. Oh my goodness. Hey, I did it, but I'm like, oh God, it wasn't very good at the time, and I'm on stage with all these burlesque, neo-burlesque legends. So, and then it's funny, and then they did another big one in San Francisco and I applied and I didn't get in because burlesque, even in just that year, had blown up. And the competition was just so much more. Yeah.
Wow.
Very competitive. It still is. But it's competitive to get into a lot of the festivals and things.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have an act that stands out for sure.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, some of it is who you know. I mean, of course, but.
And you mentioned that when you first started, just a couple, 3 years before 2008, there really wasn't very much burlesque in Portland. Did Tease O Rama have an effect on the Portland burlesque scene?
I think people saw it. Yeah. People had told me they saw me there. And then maybe they started, performing shortly after. Yeah, it definitely did. I think it kicked some things off for some people that, wanted to come, wanted to try it.
Yeah.
A lot of that's faint. I mean, those memories are it's like now I look back, I'm like, oh, that was so long ago. But it was at the Bossa Nova ballroom. Yeah, it was super fun. It was a cool experience for sure.
And around that same time, the 2000s, other neo-burlesque people talk about how the early internet in the 2000s was, a driving force, the explosion of burlesque. What was your experience with that?
So, I would just find people. I started when MySpace was on. I don't really know what they were doing before that. I know there was like another kind of social networking thing where people met each other. But yeah, just Googling, looking up what's out there basically. And what's else is around the country.
And then other parts of the burlesque community in Portland, I've heard mention Miss Kennedy's Cabaret, the Bridgetown Bombshells, the legend Tempest Storm at the Star Theater. What were the other shows, and what was the burlesque scene like?
It's interesting because a lot of people weren't coming to things for a while. I think they just didn't know or weren't interested, or I performed a lot to small crowds for a while. Tease O Rama, they were that was a full room, but a lot of the smaller shows like Crush Bar is where a lot of stuff started. I mean, there'd be stuff before Star Theater opened. That is where a lot more burlesque shows started. I started working early on with Side of the Beast Burlesque. It was started by people that really aren't even involved in it anymore. Vera Mysteria is the name of the person, and then Rocket. They started that. Rocket's still performing, but Vera is not. And then there was also Black Lodge Burlesque, which is a David Lynch theme, which that was also Vera Mysteria, Rocket, High Fleisch. And then they decided they don't want to do it anymore. So then I took that one over. So even back then, 2010-ish is when those shows started more things that I'm interested in that other people, was more of a niche thing that needed to happen.
Yeah.
I tried. I was like, I want to do classic burlesque for a couple years, and it's not really my jam. I'm more comedy. It took a while for me to kind of find myself, for sure.
And then in 2015, you were in the Oregon Burlesque Festival. What was your act?
Was that the first one? I was actually did 2 acts in that. I think I did the opening night. I did a Tina Belcher, it's a Bob's Burgers show. I did that act. And then I think I might have competed as well. I'm not sure. I had an act as a hot dog where I have a hot dog. I still have the costume. I want to revamp it eventually. But I think I competed with that the first year too. And then I've done every year of that except for the last one that was live. I didn't even apply that year. I think I had a paying gig that weekend. And I was like, hey, it's time for me to take a break from this. But I'll do it again for sure. But it was fun. I mean, I love the Oregon Burlesque Festival. It's fun having people come to town from different places.
And then outside of burlesque, do you have other jobs that support your burlesque?
Yeah, I work a retail job that I've had for 10, 11 years now. That but I used to spend so much money on like costumes and props and things for so many years, and I racked up credit card debt from traveling and doing festivals, and now I'm at a point where the money I make is money that I can use to pay bills and do fun things with. So I haven't made anything new in a while. I just kind of am with what I have. For a while I thought you had to keep pumping out things and things and things, and they weren't always like the best things, so you'd always be buying new stuff and new costumes, new props. But now it's funny, I moved in with my partner in January and I purged so much stuff, sold so many things to new performers. It was great. A lot of people took things off my hands, and I'd rather have them have it than it just sit in a closet.
Yeah. And so where did you get your costumes and props?
So Charlotte Truce has made a lot of my costumes. Pie Fleisch has made a lot of my costumes. Johnny Nuriel has made a couple of my costumes. Those are my most, I tried my hand at making things. I can like glue rhinestones on and use a glue gun, but I never really had the space to like set up a sewing machine and do this and do that. And I just always paid people to do it for me. I love that I have that option, it's nice. But I definitely have thrown together some like costumes that, I'm surprised some of them have held up, for that long. I still have a lot of things in my closet that I don't even use. I'm like, I'm just going to keep it on hand just in case.
Yeah. People in burlesque say it empowers them. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I can see that for sure. I definitely feel like a high after like a great show, that adrenaline rush. It just depends on the situation. And it depends on the person, really. I mean, to me, it's just like a natural thing right now. Like I don't, it's just what I do. I can't say it like still empowers me. I still love it. That's why I'm still doing it. But I love that people have that, feeling. And sometimes I do still, for sure. I've definitely learned a lot about like navigating people in general through all these years of performing, just business wise and communication wise, like people skills, life skills, especially with producing. There's a lot of moving parts with that.
Yeah. People also talk about how burlesque can be a force for social change. Do you see that?
Oh yeah, I definitely see that.
Yeah. How? Can you describe that?
I mean, I think that just depending on like the subject matter of the show and like what people are presenting in their act could definitely make people think, for sure. There's been a lot more putting, more, it's been more eye-opening, like, okay, as a producer, I need to have more people of color in my show. And I want to have more diversity of bodies and images of the performer. And, I definitely think it is. I'd like to see more diverse people come to shows even too.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you develop audiences?
Oh, that's interesting. I mean, the nice thing about like the Black Lodge Burlesque show is it's been going on for so long and it's such a niche thing that just keeping it fresh with new performers and new acts and things like that. But if you're putting on something new, It's a lot harder for sure. Like here's an example, like, I mean, years ago, we would put on shows with Rose City Shimmy. And like we had a group from Key West Burlesque was traveling through, and that's a long way to be traveling. And it was the night Michael Jackson died. Nobody came to the show. And I hate to laugh, but I just looking at it now, it's like just social, like, you know, I'm not going to cancel a show because a celebrity passed away, right? Like, but it's just that, you know, it's just interesting the things that happen. I think that Portland too has grown in people. Like people have grown, like there's more people here since I started. So it just puts more people in the chairs too. And branding, like, you know, just you have to, I hate Facebook. I hate having to promote, and you think I'm not a big fan of Facebook. It's just like doom scrolling sometimes, you know, but I have to use it to promote. I personally miss like the old school way of like flyering all over town, you know. That's the way I like it, but it's not really effective too much anymore. But I still have handbills for my show. You know, I still try to make like paper copies and things for shows because you never know who's going to see it. But I used to go all over town, postering, handbilling, hiring someone, you know, to do it for me. It's a lot of work.
What are the challenges facing burlesque today?
Oh, I mean, I definitely think like people still having like all white, thin, cis shows. That's definitely a problem in burlesque, and people like still not getting that cultural appropriation, you know, can happen a lot in acts. I definitely see that more from like European performers and things. Like I see, you know, I just catch wind of things on like Facebook but just keeping things like, you know, not crossing those lines. Those are the challenges. I feel some of the challenges I feel like.
And then final question, what do you wish the general public would understand about burlesque?
That it's not just one thing. Like it's not that it's so much more diverse than what like you see in like the movie, you know, the burlesque movie, right? I mean, I'm not going to say that that didn't have like entertaining aspects to that movie, but having that name burlesque, like the general public thinks I'm like up there doing like some kind of Fosse, you know, dance, and that's not the case. I mean, I love watching those kind of acts, but just that it is more than, you know, maybe what like the mainstream media makes it out to be, or like movies. Yeah, there's a lot more to it. And there have been some great documentaries, like A Wink and a Smile, I think is my favorite. And I think there was a new one about like New York neo burlesque. I forget the name of it, but that really, it was on Netflix or Prime or something, but that one was wonderful. And because I just love that, like the world of like performing artists.
That's great. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Is there anything else you want me to elaborate on?
Thanks very much.
Thank you.